Hi, welcome back to the Ponchak preview. We are now officially at day 20 of our NTI learning. You guys are kicking butt. It is awesome. So we have just finished up our short story unit and we are now starting our personal narrative unit. And we've read a couple personal narratives this year, but what we're going to focus on is today we're going to have one example of a personal narrative called The Bracelet. I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. And we're going to spend 2 days on The Bracelet, today and tomorrow. And so today you're going to read it, and then you're going to have 11 questions. And I know that seems like a lot, but they're pretty easy. And then tomorrow you can use the story to help you answer the 5 questions. So only 5 tomorrow. And we're going to also be spending time talking about what qualities and what features are part of a personal narrative. So you guys should have seen my Ponchak preview that I just did, where I read to you my own personal narrative, and I gave you guys a challenge to go and start brainstorming events in your life that made an impact, and that way it can kind of help you, because Wednesday you're going to start pre-writing and planning your own personal narrative. So today's story is The Bracelet. Hopefully you had some time to go ahead and read it. One thing I'm going to give you a little bit is that the background here. This background is very, very, very important to helping you understand the rest of the story. I'm going to briefly talk about it and the fact that this story was written right after, at the beginning of World War II-ish, and it was when in World War II, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and that was dealing with Japan and the United States. And so any of the Japanese Americans who were actually Americans living in America of Japanese nationality or descent, they were actually kind of mistreated during this time. And one of the things that happened was they were no longer allowed to live in their home, in their environment, because people thought that they were going to be giving aid to the Japanese who were actually doing the bombing. So they kind of put them in camps, and were not treated well. Like, this is really not a good time for these people. And so this story, that's a little bit of background that you need to know, because this story is about a little girl named Rory. And Rory and her family are being sent away because they are Japanese, or Japanese descent, and they are being sent into an apartment. And so they're living a normal life, and during this time they are being sent into an apartment. And it's a story about the move, because it's a pretty big deal. Okay, this event happened. Like, if you had to go through this would definitely impact your life and change you. That's what personal narratives are about. So, but the reason why it's called a bracelet, I'll let you figure that out. But she gets a gift from her friend, her neighbor, and they have to move. And so her friend's like, don't ever take it off, keep it with you. Well, I'm just going to spoil alert here. She actually ends up losing this gift, and she's freaking out about it, spends so much time looking for it. And at the end of the story, she kind of reflects back on what she learned about this gift and what she learned about herself and her time back at her home with her friends and her family, and that really it's not the gift that matters, it's the memories that matter. And so I want you to read the story, and while you're reading it, pay attention to the dialogue. We spent a lot of time talking about dialogue with our short stories. A personal narrative has to have dialogue as well. Pay attention to how she describes things, like not how she just tells you what's going on, but she describes them. Like, here's just an example, line 9. I looked around my empty room, the clothes that Mama had always told me to hang up in the closet, the junk piled on my dresser, the old rag doll that I could never bear to part with, they were all gone. You see how that's much more descriptive? Some of you would probably write, all my stuff was packed away. Okay, tell me what kind of stuff it is. Do you have a favorite doll that would be out? Do you have all of those papers from school that you're supposed to turn in or shoved in your desk? Like, be descriptive when you're writing your own. But so read through this, and then you've got 11 questions. I know that feels like a lot, but it's very literal questions. Go back into the story. It even tells you on line 7, on line 23, sequence of events. It's very, very surface level. Tomorrow we'll dig a little deeper. But I want you guys, when you are reading the story, think about a time when you knew something bad was happening to your family, or you were going through a big change and you weren't quite able to comprehend what was going on, and then somebody gave you a little bit of like hope, whether it was like a hug or a gift or kind words, and it helped you through it. that's kind of what this gift is for Rory. So I want you guys to have a fun time reading it, answering questions, and I'll see you at the Zoom.